I made some cassava flour and I did this without the help of any dehydrator. And I incorporated it in dishes that will amaze you. So you've got to turn on the notification bell and stay tuned for the amazing things that are lined up for you. If you watched my cassava dough recipe, you would notice that this is the same footage as it follows a very similar process. So this cassava was frozen and then I set it aside to thaw. Once it thaws, it's easy for you to divide it, and it's also easy to blend as they become very soft. So I put it in my blender. I add water, just enough water to move the blades of the blender, and then I blend it. Once I'm done blending this, I will empty this into a chiffon cloth. You can do this in a muslin bag. If you watch again my cassava dough recipe, you notice that I showed you two ways. Okay, so any of them works. Just something that will be able to strain out the excess water from the cassava. If you are using a chiffon cloth like this, you want to tie it so that all the water drains. And to even make it easier for you, put something in a bowl. Okay, so you can put a bowl in a bigger saucepan and then put the dough in the chiffon cloth on, if you are using a muslin bag, on, and then press it with any heavy stuff that you can find around. As much as possible, you need them to be very heavy, and that is going to squeeze out all the water in this. A few hours and then you have this. You can also do this overnight. So looking at this now, this is a cassava dough. Okay, if you watch that recipe, this was it. But then remember that we don't discard the water that came out of it. We set it, we put it aside, and then once we pour the one on top of it, you would notice that you have all this starch sticking at the bottom of it. Don't throw it away. This can be used for so many things. Okay, so you just get it out of the container and then dry that. You don't even need the sunshine to dry your starch. You can leave it on your table for a number of days. By the time you realize, 1 or 2 days, and then it is dry for you to use it for other recipes. Or better still, based on what you want to use this flour for, you can add it to the flour. So usually when you dry it, you notice that it all clumps up. You just blend it, and then here you are with your cassava starch. But that's not why we are here today, beautiful people. Okay, so however, it is a very necessary step if you are using this solely for your fufu. So now we are back to the main cassava flour. I am cleaning my tray and I'm going to line this tray with some parchment paper. Once that is done, I'll just spread the cassava dough that I made all over my parchment paper. I'm using this process again because of what I want to use the flour for. I feel that if I cut them into, the cassava into chunks and dry them, I may not get the color I want, because if you notice, cassava flour is basically coconut flour, and then when they cut them and they dry them, it has a different feel, different color. Okay, but because of what I want to use this for, that is why I am going through this process. And this process also dries very, very fast as compared to cutting them into small sizes or cubes. You get it? So I spread it on a number of trays. And I say that Africa, we are blessed with the sunshine. I don't have a dehydrator just yet, but then I made use of the sunshine. So what I did was that I covered it, okay, with a bigger chiffon cloth, the transparent enough for the sun rays to be able to get access to my cassava. So I used 2 days to dry this, and this is the third day. The sun wasn't really up that much, but then it still survived. That's what I've noticed with making it this way. But then again, they were clamped up, so I thought of just sieving this. However, I noticed that was going to be a whole lot of work. So the better alternative is just to blend it in my meal. This turmeric, my turmeric stained meal. I blended some turmeric in it and it left this yellow color on my meal. Yeah, so this is just the small part of the blender. Most blenders have that. I blended that in it, and here we are with our cassava flour. As easy as that. If you are going to do fufu, just make sure that you add the starch that we did earlier to it, okay? But I'll be using this to bake some bread. So as I mentioned, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and watch how I incorporated this in this bread, and even some puff puff, some meat pies, and of course I used it for fufu as well. Guys, you should stay tuned. You should really stay tuned. And the way things are expensive these days, you want to take advantage of seasons. When cassava is in season, freeze some, make some powder. Right now, fufu flour, the price is just crazy, and even flour itself. So how I incorporated it to the bread and everything, you've got to watch out.